Yes, in fact, I find it appalling. I find it repugnant to the system of government under which we're supposed to be operating. I find it even repugnant to Article 6 of the Constitution, which makes clear that there's one kind of constitutional amendment that is never appropriate. You can't amend the Constitution to deny any state its equal representation in the Senate. And if at any moment we end up with a situation in which we have second-class senators, senators that may submit and propose for debate and discussion and a vote an amendment, if we have to go to the majority leader and say, "Mother, may I?" then perhaps we've lost something. Perhaps we've lost the environment in which each of the states were supposed to receive equal representation. It also seems to me to take on a certain character, a certain banana republic quality, that we're asked to vote on legislation in many circumstances just hours or even minutes after we've received it. We take on a certain rubber stamp quality when we do that. I remember a few months ago, in connection with the fiscal cliff debate, as we approached the fiscal cliff on New Year's Eve, we were told by our respective leaders, just wait, something's coming. Go back to your offices, watch your televisions, play with your toys, do whatever it is that you do, but, be good senators, run along and stay out of trouble. We're taking care of this. We'll send you legislation as soon as we're ready. Well, at 1:36 a.m., we received an email, and attached to that email was a 153-page document. That was the bill that we would be voting on. That bill was one that we would be called to vote on exactly 6 minutes later at 1:42 a.m. So to my utter astonishment and dismay, senators flocked into this room and with very, very little objection ended up passing that legislation overwhelmingly. This is just one of many examples I can point to in the 2.5 years since I've been here, when members have been asked to vote and did in fact vote enthusiastically, willingly, and hardly without a whimper of objection to legislation that they had never seen, to legislation that they were familiar with only to the extent that it had been summarized for them. Now, that brings us back to this legislation here. We've had this in front of us in one form or another for the last couple of months. But for a long time before we even had it, what we had was a summary of this. We had a series of bullet points. Those bullet points were very favorable, and for a long time the bullet points were all we had. The bullet points, I exaggerate slightly to prove a point, but they read something like this. Is this bill outstanding? Yes. Will this bill solve all of our immigration problems? Absolutely. Is there anything wrong with this bill? Heavens, no. That's how the bullet points read, and it was on that basis that groups around the country and some members even of our own body decided that they would vote for Senate Bill 744 even before Senate Bill 744 even existed. We had groups across the country, some even in my home state, that came out strongly in favor of the yet-to-be-released Gang of Eight bill, saying we're going to vote for it, and we're going to support it. And anyone who doesn't vote for it in the United States Senate is a backward fool. Well, they hadn't read it. They couldn't have read it because the bill didn't yet exist. Now, in some respects, what happened with this is very similar to what we're now facing with the yet-to-be-released Corker Amendment. I haven't seen it, but I'll tell you what I have seen. I've seen a set of very brief bullet points about the Corker Amendment. And the bullet points read something like this. Is this amendment outstanding? Yes. Will this amendment solve our border security problems? Absolutely. Is there any problem presented by this amendment? Absolutely not. So I say to my friend from Alabama, if this is what I can expect in my career in the United States Senate, I am a little bit troubled. But I would ask my friend from Alabama if there's anything we can do about this, if there's any way we can right this ship, if there's any way we can turn this around, this disturbing trend, separate and apart from the policies underlying this bill. Is there anything we can do to make this a real legislative body and not a rubber stamp? the kind of legislative body that actually does debate and discuss things. Because you don't really have a true deliberative legislative body unless you have enough time to debate things before we vote on them, to where the members can actually read them.